So hi and welcome to the video. So today I'm basically going to be talking about layering waxes. I'm going to be answering sort of one of the biggest questions I know a lot of people ask when they're actually applying waxes, and that is how many layers should they actually put on, whether one's enough or whether you should go ahead and put 2 or 3 and you'll get better results doing that. So I'm going to be talking about that, and I'm also going to be talking about actual pros and cons of layering different types of waxes and sealants. So definitely sort of a lot of advice out there is to sort of put sealant on the car and then put a wax over the top, and I'm just going to be talking about that a little bit more, sort of my opinion on it and kind of the advantages and disadvantages of doing that really. So I'll jump in and start and basically talk about how many layers of the same products you should apply. So generally some waxes even say it on the back of the packet to basically apply 2 coats, and I personally don't agree with that. I always really think that applying 1 layer of wax is plenty to do. Basically what happens is when you actually apply a layer of wax, and then it'll leave that film, that invisible layer of protection on your car. If you go ahead and apply a sort of wax over the top of that, then there's 2 things that can happen. If you've done it too quickly and the wax really hasn't sort of cured properly and hardened, then you can essentially just wipe the top layer off when you just applying that second layer. So you can essentially, if you're doing it really quickly, just keep doing it, and basically you're just always going to be left with 1 layer and you're just going to be wasting product. Another sort of thing about sort of applying waxes is basically, even if you sort of let it cure and you're not sort of wiping that layer off, you maybe leaving it a few hours and applying another layer, then actually you won't get sort of double the amount of thickness if you add 1 layer compared to 2. So I think there is that sort of misconception that if you have 2 layers of wax on your car then you've got double the amount of protection, but it's just not really kind of how it works. So I really kind of wanted to actually test this out. It's just definitely something that I've really sort of believed was the case, and I wanted to kind of try that out on my car. So I did actually do a test with this product here, and this is R222 in Europe I think, and then P21S in the US, sorry. And that is basically, it's really good show wax, adds a lot of gloss. So if you are looking sort of a wax that's kind of easy to apply and will add a bit of shine, then this is actually one of the best options you can go for. So I'll leave a link in the description to a review I've done of this if you're interested. But I basically tried it out using this product. So really what I wanted to do is kind of keep applying layers of wax and see really whether it actually made a difference, whether it sort of made it any shinier, whether there was any sort of extra sort of water repellency, and basically just generally whether layering waxes actually made a difference. So I'll sort of overlay the kind of shots over this, but first talking about how much gloss it actually adds. Now personally I noticed absolutely no difference whatsoever when I applied, I think I did 4 layers in the end of this wax, compared to when I applied 1. There was just no difference. So if you kind of really want to sort of add gloss and that's what you're looking for, then layering wax personally made no difference to me, and I definitely was looking pretty closely and I'd kind of keep an eye out for stuff like this, but for me I just noticed no difference, and I think that the vast majority of people out there won't. Potentially if you've got a really good eye for it, there might be a very subtle difference. If you go into a car show, then maybe you want to chuck on 2 layers of wax rather than 1, just to kind of do it really. But I personally don't think there's any sort of benefits in terms of appearance of applying multiple layers of wax. The second thing I wanted to talk about was actually sort of the protection. So the way that I tested this, really sort of think the best way to test it really is how well it actually repels water. So I applied basically 3 layers in the end of wax on the left side, and then just 1 layer, sorry, on the right, and just really kind of ran a hose over it, basically on really low pressure, and to see how well the water actually sheeted away. And that was basically just after applying the wax. I think I gave it about half an hour to sort of fully dry and cure, and then I tested that, and as well I noticed absolutely no difference in how well it actually sort of repelled water. There was just no difference. They were both really good, and this wax is actually pretty good on application at repelling water, so if you're looking for that as well, it is a good wax to go for. But basically I just noticed no difference whatsoever. And also one of the other things that people tend to apply 2 layers of wax for is because of the durability. So I just wanted to talk about that as well. Personally, in my experience, I've noticed that if you apply 1 layer of wax compared to 2, you're not going to get double the amount of durability if you apply 2. So if your wax says it's going to last a month, you put 2 layers on, you're not going to get 2 months worth of protection by doing that, because again, I said basically you're not adding sort of double the amount of thickness of the wax, and you're also potentially buffing that first layer away when you go ahead and apply that first wax. So I just don't think in terms of durability you're going to get much of a benefit. You might get a tiny bit, I've personally never noticed it, but you might, but you definitely won't get double the amount. And personally, you know, if you're going to go ahead and apply a layer of wax after a month, it's better just to reapply it than potentially get sort of 5 weeks after applying 2 layers. But personally, from my experience, I haven't even sort of noticed any difference whatsoever in durability when I've applied multiple layers. So I just don't really think that layering waxes, layering the same product of wax, there's much benefit to it. It's personally not something I do, and after kind of sort of confirming it to myself really with this test, it's not something that, you know, I probably will do in the future. I just think it takes too much longer to go over the entire car again. Also, you're using double the amount of product. So personally, I just apply 1 layer, and then when the wax tends to die a bit, you sort of see it losing a bit of water repellency and things like that, I'll just go ahead and apply another layer or strip it off and apply a different type of product, because I'm constantly trying out different ones. So if you are interested in looking at different product reviews, then definitely be sure to hit the subscribe button, because I basically go through loads of different products on this channel and review them. So hit the subscribe button if you kind of are interested in that. But next, I'll talk about basically the pros and cons of layering different types of waxes or sealants. So I think most people out there generally tend to know that if you are going to layer a wax and sealant, then you should always put the sealant on first and put the wax over the top. And that's just because the sealants are always just more durable than the waxes. Put the wax on underneath and the sealant on top, then it'll kind of slip away, and you don't really get much benefit from that. So really, I think the kind of pro of doing it is that sealants obviously are best known for their actual kind of durability, and most sealants will last sort of at least a few months, potentially 6 months, and some even up to a year before they need reapplying. So they definitely add that kind of really good layer of protection on your car. Waxes don't tend to offer as much durability, and instead you'll get maybe 2 to 3 months at best for using a wax, but usually closer to a month, maybe 6 weeks before you need to reapply that wax. So the sort of thinking behind adding a sealant and then putting a wax on the top is that basically even when the wax wears away, you're basically going to have that sealant underneath to protect it. But I kind of get the thinking behind it. It's something that I've tried in the past. Personally, just because of me being lazy, I've had this wax here on the car. So this is Fuso Coat, and it's basically really durable hydrophobic wax, and it offers a lot of protection. And then I've wanted to sort of layer it with this product here just to add that kind of sort of warm shine that natural waxes tend to offer. I personally think they just look slightly better. But basically I have tried that in the past, and it's more out of laziness because I didn't want to go ahead and strip that wax off to go and apply that one, personally because that one's basically a nightmare to actually remove. You have to actually work quite hard to get that off. In some cases I've actually had to polish the car. If sort of I tried to remove it after 3 months, it's really hard to remove. So I've just gone ahead and applied a wax over the top of that. But so I sort of understand the thinking behind it, and it's not a bad thing to do. But one thing to really know is that you're going to get the properties of whatever you apply on the top layer. So say this wax here is not as hydrophobic as that one. If I go ahead and apply that one, and I really enjoy how kind of hydrophobic it is, the water just completely beads and sheets off, and then I go ahead and apply this one on top, and it's just not as hydrophobic, the water won't slip off as easily, then I'm going to get these properties. And it's something that I think a lot of people tend to forget, but you really you want to, if you're going to do this method, sort of choose products that are really sort of compatible and both have sort of what you're looking for really. So if you want a really hydrophobic wax like that, but you want some extra gloss, then using something like even the King of Gloss, which is their Fuso is actually natural wax version of that one. Using something like that is a little bit of a better option, because you're going to sort of get that benefit, and then even when that wears away, you won't tend to notice as much, and you can just go ahead and apply that wax to get that shine back whenever you kind of feel like it. But if you are sort of applying different products, and there can tend to be a little bit of reduction in sort of compatibility. You can sort of potentially run into durability issues, but just I think generally the sort of main issue is that you're just going to get the properties of whatever's on top. And personally, I don't think there's much point in adding 2 layers, because once, say I applied this on top, once it wears away, then I've got none of this left, and although the car will be protected, there's a reason that I applied this. So I'd personally just rather apply this and apply it more often than go to the sort of trouble of applying 2 layers of different waxes. So I kind of get the thinking behind it, but it's definitely not something that you need to do. I don't think you sort of need to really, you have to have a sealant and you have to apply a wax over the top. You can definitely get a lot of protection and of just applying maybe a wax or just a sealant, and it'll work just fine. You're not going to get sort of amazing results just from doing that. It's not vital, so I won't sort of fall into that trap, but something you can do, you know, if you really are interested in waxing your car and you know, like me, then you can go ahead and do that. That's something that I used to do, but personally now, just because I'm trying out loads of different products, I always kind of start from fresh and basically just remove whatever's underneath and apply a new layer of whatever, you know, new product I'm going to try out. So that's sort of my kind of 2 cents really on this topic, and really why I think that layering waxes isn't sort of a big deal. You don't really need to do it, and I don't think there's a huge benefit from doing it, but sort of go ahead and try that out yourself and let me know in the comments below kind of what happens for you. But thanks for watching this video. I hope you have enjoyed it. Be sure to like it if you have, comment down below again if you've got any questions or any kind of thoughts on this yourself, and subscribe for weekly detailing videos. I'm making stuff like this all the time with sort of little tips and tricks, vehicle transformations and plenty of product reviews, so hit subscribe if you are interested in that. But until then, I'll see you next time.